Hello and welcome to ABR Facts 2012, and in this particular series of videos I'm going for a more user-friendly format which covers two purposes at once. On the one hand, of course, it's presenting the efficiency of ABR, the ability of ABR to transform lives even of most severe children with quadriplegic cerebral palsy condition. And the second thing is to educate parents using real-life examples on how to navigate in the domain of cerebral palsy. This video has a very straightforward title: How to Evaluate Sitting of a Spastic Quadriplegic Child. And in this video I'm going to walk you through multiple sitting tests done before ABR and after 1 year of ABR work, using this example of severe 16-year-old quadriplegic spastic child. And by walking you through those tests, I'm going to advise you on how to evaluate the sitting of your own child. And I think that it's going to be particularly valuable for you, especially if your child is much younger, because the tendencies are going to be all the same, but at the same time you're going to understand where the entire situation is heading and what actually is going to happen if you don't pay enough attention or if you don't address the troubles with fundamentals of trunk, strength, and the head control. So in this video you're going to learn the key tests to look at and how to interpret them, so that you're going to be equipped in being able to analyze the performance of your own child. And in the following series of videos we're going to go through further level of details, talking about why sitting is difficult or why sitting troubles emerge in cerebral palsy, and what are the secrets behind it, and actually, of course, what to do about those sitting troubles. This video is going to give you a relatively detailed overview of the transformations achieved by this quadriplegic severe child with cerebral palsy who is 16 years of age during the period between 2010 and 2011 following the advanced biomechanical rehabilitation applications and exercises. If you want to have a shorter review, these videos are available online as well. In this one we're going to get into some details, and I invite you to this quite amazing and remarkable journey and invite you to pay attention to the details, because these are the valuable lessons for any parent or any practitioner who works with the cerebral palsy kids. So once again, I want to highlight that 16 years of age is the period which came through extended rehabilitation efforts. Since he's not coming from a, say, third world country, but comes from Italy, obviously, straight from birth, he has been exposed to all sorts of classic and alternative formats of physical therapy treatments, including the orthopedic interventions of Botox and other sort of familiar types, right, including the serial casting and everything else. So what do we observe at this particular moment? Well, nothing really positive. It's a combination of troubles: extreme stiffness and incapacitation. So let's have a deeper review and see different angles and facets of his preliminary condition and try to draw some lessons from it. First of all, we're going to look at this initial placement. So you're seeing that I'm just holding him all the way through these remote points, the shoulders and right under the knees, but despite that there is no movement at all. He's absolutely stiff as a plank of wood. And as I move him, you can see that actually the arms remain in the fixed position, the legs remain in the fixed position, the entire body remains in the fixed position. And as I try to plant him into the sitting placement, even this assistance by the legs to kind of to pin them down to the ground, well, it's not helping much. Let's look at it closer. So you see my pinning hand is on his leg, and then I'm starting the movement, initiating it from the grip that holds him by the neck. So what happens? Not much of the effect. Every time I try to bring him forwards, his spine generates a paradoxical reaction. I move him forwards. That's the assistance that he needs to be able to get into the sitting position. He responds by sliding backwards and by arching. Let's keep looking at it. You see several attempts, same effects. And this is quite a remarkable sequence of shots demonstrating how stiff he is, where he indeed moves from head to toes and from the head to the little fingers without having any room for movement in between. So finally I managed to kind of get around him and plant him temporarily, but the moment I release the grip on the neck, what happens? The head goes backwards and he slides without any control and being relatively, well, scared and uncomfortable in this entire shift. Well, I guess it's quite informative to see the transformation. Of course, that's the overall result, and you would expect that things got better, but now let's have a look at a similar test. What's happening? Now he's much more relaxed. And actually, as I'm bringing him forwards, I don't need much of the pinning efforts altogether. I shift my grip towards the shoulders and then start just walking around. And you can see, instead of this massive support that I've been providing him by the trunk before, well, now I'm just simply shifting my grip all the way to the single arm. And that's enough. So that's sufficient to maintain his position, and you can actually see how well he is able to counter move his entire body. And if we go further, well, this is just a different look. You can see that simply lifting him by the shoulders without any extra effort or extra grip going towards the neck, it is possible to just easily bring him forwards and move him back and forth. So this is a remarkable transformation. So this is a remarkable reduction of this previously extreme rigidity. But let's bring more data, let's bring more of the reviews into this case. I realize that for you as the parents, right, the pictures on the left, they could be quite disheartening, right, and tough to look at. You can see the child being so uncomfortable and struggling. So that's why I'm keeping the positive picture on the right, so that you would actually understand that things turned out much better, and today he is in much better condition. And again, this is the central message that ABR sends to the parents of quadriplegic children. If you do your part, if you do the work according to ABR techniques and strategies, it is realistic to bring your spastic quadriplegic child, or ataxic, or whatever form of quadriplegic manifestations, from struggling and actually suffering to being in a much better situation. In other words, from struggling to thriving and being happy and comfortable. So let's get a further review to understand things better. You see, people often ask me, well, after watching ABR before and after videos and seeing the remarkable results, they say, well, maybe this is just a selective choice. You've kind of got a position where the child was particularly vulnerable, right? And then you've got a better shot afterwards. So that's why we do demonstrate that we take a lot of shots and we take multiple takes, to say so, of the same tests, to be sure that what we have as the results is consistent and, well, actually verifiable in that sense. So I'm being persistent in my attempts to bring this boy into the sitting position, and you can see actually I need two grips, one by the rib cage and an extra support by the head, but it's very obvious that there is trouble there. It's impossible to plant him because he's actually just sliding back and forth. right? You see, he doesn't have enough of a sitting platform within his pelvis to allow him for proper sitting. So, and that what happens, I get a temporary sit, then get a grip, and then boom, he actually just starts sliding with his legs and then shooting backwards with his head and shoulders. And if you're a parent of a quadriplegic child, I'm pretty sure that for many of you this is a very familiar sight. So this is important to realize, especially if your kids are younger, that if you see those things when your child is 2, 3, or 5 years of age, and you hope that this is going to disappear by itself, unfortunately you have to realize this is not going to happen. If anything, as the years go by, things only get stiffer, tougher, and in general worse. So it's important to open up and get this realization and actually to connect to the idea that if you don't do something specific yourself, unfortunately, the standard methods of the physical therapy and orthopedic intervention, they don't help much to the child in a quadriplegic condition. And you can see that, well, there are repeated efforts of trying to put him into the sitting position, and because of these struggles at the level of the stiff lumbar spine and because of the direct conflict between the rib cage and the pelvis, well, he is not very comfortable there. And you can see the stiffness is absolutely remarkable, right? I mean, it's disheartening how stiff he is and that he moves just like a complete single block. And no matter what position we're coming from, it's always the same. Whether it's going forwards and backwards, or whether it's going sideways or transverse and rotationally, just moving as a single block. This is really, really troubled situation for this boy. And look at these arms. The arms are actually denying the gravitation instead of just simply falling down, right? If they were just weak, what happens? They're sticking out, and no matter how I change his position and how I fiddle with him around, he's always having those arms protruded in front of him. So of course this is a very challenging situation. So but this one is finally, I kind of managed to just for a few seconds to plant him into the sitting position. But that doesn't work. That doesn't work for more than a split second, because the moment I just loosen the double grip a little bit, then instantly he goes into the arching. And then again, I'm lifting him by the neck, so that's the sort of most favorable for the assistant. This is the grip that gives you the most of the control over the child's over your ability to bend the child forwards. And you see I succeed, but then again, the moment I try to switch my grip from the neck towards the body, boom, he goes backwards, and I have to actually protect him with my own head in order to make sure that his head doesn't get hurt. So, and again, all sorts of movements, all of them ending up with the same. So now I'm actually trying to bring him into the into the sitting position, and then do the next test, because obviously the support of the trunk is the easier version. The support by the arm is more difficult one. Again, I'm going to give you the positive news. It is very much possible today to bend him forwards easily. And also it is very much possible to have him in the relaxed position with a single arm support. But just 1 year before, that wasn't possible at all. You see, as I'm switching my grip from the neck to the arm, what happens? He just shoots backwards. And you can see that even trying to help him with 2 arms support, right? Not even one, of course. One is more challenging, right? It's quite a simple thing to understand that when you hold the child by the body Well, that's the easiest for him, right? And the higher you hold him, that's why the grip by the neck is the most effective, right? Even the relatively stiff and arching child could be brought forwards by your grip by the neck. And the lower you bring your level of support, the more the child has to do himself. And another aspect is true, that the support by the arms actually it brings greater expectations from the child himself. So he has to be able to do more to use the support by the arms. He has to be stronger, right? So therefore, the support by two arms is more challenging than the support by the trunk. And respectively, the further away you move along the arm, right? So if you hold the child closer to the shoulder, it's easier for him to maintain the position. And if you hold him just by the hand, well, he has to be able to deliver more of him by himself. It's quite simple, right? So what you can see here in the before pictures, that this is incredible struggle. Incredible struggle. You can see that the support by the arms is not helping him much, and he just keeps arching, keeps going backwards, and then within this arch, well, just single block. Very unfortunate situation. And another view, another attempt, and you can see here I first help him by the head support, bring the control, the grip over the arm, and then shift my grip to the other arm, and that's enough. This split second release of the head is sufficient for him to shoot it backwards. Compare this to this remarkable transformation today. Minimal support and just selective head movements that are going without any arching of the upper body. So once again, this demonstrates to you that even despite the greatest troubles in the beginning, when you do your work properly and when you're ready to invest your time and effort, any child has huge improvement potential. Even severely affected 16-year-old like this. So because of course this child would be on a difficult side or difficult part of the just spectrum in terms of the number of challenges experienced. But once again, if you do the things right, everything is possible. Even in this condition, it's possible to bring the child from struggling to thriving. Thank you very much for viewing this, and in the next part of this extended video, we're going to go even more into the details, and we're going to analyze the specifics, what's behind the transformations that we have seen here, both in terms of the sitting and in terms of the overall positioning. But then we're also going to look at the more advanced nuances which are going to help us to understand how everything works. So that's in the next part.